Morning. I'm Denise Wilson, and I'm a member here, and I'm your worship associate this morning. On behalf of Reverend Dave Dunn, our music director, Alex Peach, our director of religious exploration, Lexi Tagney, and our dedicated technical team making today's live stream possible, it's my honor to welcome you to Unitarian Universalist Metro Atlanta North Congregation, a church home that we lovingly call UUMAN. We are a liberal faith community with the mission to nurture our spirit, strive for justice, and transform the world. No matter who you are, who you love, or where you are on your spiritual journey, you are welcome here, and we're so glad you're with us. At UUMAN, we love visitors, and so I would like to invite any of you who are with us for the first time today, if you feel comfortable doing so, please stand and tell us your name and maybe where you're from. Any first-time visitors on my right? Hi. Rufa, welcome. Thank you. Any first-time visitors on my left?
Kyle and Christine Keller-Cuspar from Ann Arbor, Michigan, the UUMAN congregation there. And we are here visiting because our daughter is a member. Yeah, she's in the nursery.
Oh, wonderful. Welcome. Thank you. Oh, hi. Oh, I'm sorry. Welcome, Erin. Thank you. We're glad everyone is here, both new and familiar. I do have a special prop here. If anybody has trouble hearing during our services, we have headsets that are available in boxes that look like this. You can get them in the lobby when you come in from the greeters. And also, our audio system works with any modern hearing aids. And if you have any questions about that, you can ask Jim in the back, who's standing there, or ask a greeter. We have a few more announcements. We have some adult enrichment offerings this morning during second hour. You can check the whiteboard in the lobby for locations. We have every Sunday, the Sunday service reflection, which is combined with issues in Unitarian Universalism. In the fellowship hall, there is a poetry forum today in the sanctuary and a class called Prophetic Sisterhood, UU History, downstairs in the fellowship hall. Now I would like to invite Miriam for a special announcement.
Thank you. Good morning. I'm Miriam Patanian, and for the purpose of this, I am one of the tri-chairs for Under the Harvest Moon auction. Who knows about Under the Harvest Moon? Good. Who does not yet know about Under the Harvest Moon? It is okay to raise your hand. Fantastic. I can't wait to tell you. It is UUMAN's annual auction, our fundraising auction. It's going to be held Saturday, November the 5th, starting at 7 o'clock. It's going to be here at UUMAN. It's also going to be online for those of you who wish to be online in the comfort of your own home. And it is a super fun event. Think about lots of socializing, lots of laughter, and lots of really great items that are going to be up for auction. I happen to know the other two tri-chairs who are helping to organize this auction, and I've gotten to see a sneak peek of what's being offered. Fantastic events that have the theme of travel. Because we haven't gotten to travel for so long, we're going to be traveling. We're going to be traveling with our trips and the vacation homes. We're going to be traveling with the dinners that we have up for auction, and even the items from all around the world. So what we encourage you to do is to open up your order of service that you have here, and you'll see a QR code with an adorable little dinosaur in the middle. If you stick your phone and the camera, stick your camera up to that QR code, it will take you to the place where you need to go to get your tickets for the auction. And in order to see the list of items that are up for auction in a couple of weeks, you have to have a ticket, and you'll be able to access the website. We're asking for as many people as possible to go ahead and get your tickets before next Sunday. And the reason why we're asking you to do that is so that we can plan for the event that's going to be in person, so we know how much food and beverage and all kinds of things need to be available for you to make it the perfect travel evening for you. So go ahead and do that. And also, if you do that, your name will be entered into a drawing to win the possibility of becoming a millionaire. There is a gorgeous basket that is being left unattended outside with a whole bunch of lottery tickets. And so you too could be a millionaire, but you got to get your name in first by registering and getting your tickets. Thank you.
Good morning. Today's call to worship was written by Joseph Cherry. If we have any hope of transforming the world and changing ourselves, we must be bold enough to step into our discomfort, brave enough to be clumsy there, loving enough to forgive ourselves and others. May we, as a people of faith, be granted the strength to be so bold, so brave, and so loving. And now let us light our chalice together.
I invite you to read with me using the words found in your program. The chalice lighting this morning is called Soul Fire, written by Anastasia Baroche. As we light this flame of hope, may our congregation become a kaleidoscope of souls and people in the presence of this flame. In me, in you, in us is an invitation to sit at the table. May we tend our soul fire through these challenging and trying times to open the hearts and minds of all who enter our doors. Our hymn this morning is number 163, and I'm not sure which hymnal that's in. Is that the gray one? Thank you.
received an invitation to spend the afternoon on the river. We were just going to go downstream from one town to another. But what I didn't know, and yet what surprised me when I got to the river, that the one that invited me was a fish. Yeah, a fish invited me to go down the river. And I thought it was going to be a gentle river, but really it was actually a roaring rapids. And I just had a flimsy little raft and a plastic paddle. So I began to get a little worried. So I walked along the river, downstream on the river's edge, to check out the river. I mean, there were giant plumes of water coming vertically up out of the river. I couldn't see what was causing that because, well, whatever it was underneath the water of the river. A giant boulder, some large rock, maybe someone else's canoe, I don't know. I couldn't see what it was. It was hidden under the surface of the water. A little downstream, I saw that the river disappeared into this wall of rock, a canyon of rock. As I got down there, it was shooting through the river was shooting through that canyon with such force, I was sweating. And then in that canyon, the river split into a right and a left-hand side. And I had to make sure, when I come down the river, that I had to keep to the left because the right, there was an overhanging rock right above the surface of the water that would have decapitated me should I go down that stretch of the river. So I went further downstream, and then there was a 10-foot waterfall. How am I going to navigate that? I would surely die. So I have to make sure when I get to the waterfall that I get to the side, if I can, and port my flimsy raft downstream to avoid the waterfall. There's a lot to navigate in this river, this whitewater rafting trip, what I thought was going to be a float down the river. There's a lot to navigate. I began to look for safe spaces where I could be sure, yet I couldn't be sure if they were really truly safe spaces because I couldn't see what was lurking underneath the surface of the water. Well, I walked back up to where our trip was supposed to begin, and there the fish was, looking suspiciously at my raft and paddle. "What's that?" he asked. I'm like, "Well, that's my raft. I need that to go down the river." "What? You don't need any raft," the fish said. "Just swim. Do what I do. Just swim." I don't think I can just swim like you can. I need the raft and I need a paddle." "No, you don't need this raft," the fish insisted, and actually poked a hole in my raft, and it deflated right before my eyes. I turned around and went home. "Hey, where are you going, my friend? Come on back." I didn't look back.
At this point in our service, we share our joys with each other to magnify them and our sorrows to divide the weight of their pain. If you are so moved, please feel free to come forward, drop a pebble in the bowl, and speak your joy or sorrow into the microphone right there. If you're attending via our live stream this morning, please type your joy or sorrow into the chat, and I will read the ones that show up. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Mary Beth Stevens, and I'm a member of this congregation, and I think, what's a joy? I am starting a new job on October 24th. I've had a delightful 13 months contracting and working from home and sort of chilling out a little bit, and now I'm jumping back into the fire. I'm going to work for a Danish company that manufactures smart water meters here in Roswell, Georgia. So the good thing is the commute is to Roswell, and the other good thing is 3 trips per year to Denmark. So, yay.
I'm Michelle Lieber-Gassell, and I have 2 joys. The first is my cousin is here. She's actually my mother's second cousin. My mother's family is small, and my mother hasn't seen her since 1968, so she's come for a week. Normally, staying for a week is kind of, I don't know, but she came last Friday, and I have been having the time of my life. She brought her dog, and then my mother came for a couple of days, and she brought her 2 dogs, and I'm just in heaven. I hope she moves to Georgia, but it might be Hawaii, but wherever, we're gonna stay in touch. The second joy is for Atlanta Pride last Sunday. It has been a number of years since I have been, and then it's been a couple of years since there has been a Pride Parade, but Dave and a number of us, Randy Blosh and the new Michelle, who's the member, were there, so we all had on our yellow flame shirts. And I heard Dave talk to Paul about next year. We need a chalice, and there's enough money in the Atlanta cluster that we can pay him for his balloons. So I'm just really excited. Oh, and my sister came to Pride for the very first time, and was just touched by the outpouring of love by the various religious organizations, the Jewish synagogues, the Episcopals, even the North Georgia United Methodist Churches, which is really Atlanta, not North Georgia. They were there. So it was just wonderful. So I hope all of you will enjoy it. If you've never seen a Pride, it is so flamboyant and twerking. I mean, there was someone twerking the whole time in front of us. So, I mean, it is so much creativity. Join us, please.
Well, I could twerk while I'm giving this joy, but I'm going to spare us all that. I'm Miriam Patanian, and my joy is, I think this is a joy, is that our youngest is joining the land of the teenagers. Olivia will be 13 on Tuesday.
No twerking here either. I'm happy to report my sister's surgery was successful. Thanks everybody for their thoughts and prayers and kind words.
Good morning, I'm Tanya. You know, it's just a brief, I had a friend visit last night. She spent the night with us, and it's just so special. I met her in AA, and I was her sponsor, and she was addicted to, what was she, who knows? She just went down so far, and she was a dog groomer, and she was probably the top dog groomer that you've ever seen. She was so completely talented. And so she lost her place to live, so she came and lived with us I actually took custody of her son for a little while, because I didn't want her to lose him. And then she came and she was staying with me, and then it was under the terms that she had to stay clean. And she went out, she was in downtown Atlanta, and I had to put her belongings on the front porch and not let her back into my house. You know, it was just such a tough go. And she's got sobriety now, and she's had it for a good number of years. And she has an incredibly successful mobile dog grooming business in Florida. You know, she's got 12 trucks now, and she's just living her best life. And, you know, I had forgotten about, you know, with her last night about having Kyle and all that, and it was just such a rough go, and I just can't even tell you how elated I am, you know, that she stayed with me under different terms this time. So sobriety is awesome. Thank you.
We have one comment showing up in the live chat, which I am going to interpret as a joy. Stephanie Wilson says, finally, fellowship with an open-minded community. Now I'll drop one final pebble for those joys and sorrows still too tender to escape our hearts. Let us keep one another in our thoughts for the coming week. A poem I would like to share with you today from a collection of poems and writings by Naomi Shihab Nye. The collection is called Honeybee. This poem is called Communication Skills. I am working on speaking to the ones who haven't spoken to us in years, the ones swinging punches out of nowhere, the ones who decided to shun us for reasons unknown, who wouldn't greet our group at the family reunion, but sat across the swimming pool looking wounded. The strength of strangers will help us survive. Strangers are so generous. They don't know our faults, our flaws, so they hope for the best, muttering good morning when you pass at the bridge. The consolation of strangers is endless and forgiving, but it takes all our courage with close ones sometimes, families, neighbors, best friends. Even if we believe in world peace, they will find reasons to dislike us. I think of Gandhi, who said he might never have become an activist for nonviolence if the neighbor boys had not beaten him up. Our reading this morning is an excerpt from The Blue Collar Struggle for Social Justice by Farah Stockman. John was a die-hard Union man who came from a long line of Union men. His grandfather and great-grandfather had been coal miners. His father-in-law had been an auto worker. To John, factories were places where the working class fought pitched battles with the company for higher pay and shorter working hours. He traced his identity to the miners and steelworkers who had been beaten, arrested, and even killed for demanding an 8-hour workday and a day off every week. That's why nothing stuck in John's craw like the phrase white privilege. The words implied that his people had been handed a middle-class life simply because they were white. In John's mind, his people had not been given dignity, leisure time, safer working conditions, or decent wages just because they were white. They had fought for those things, and some of them had died in the fight. After the bosses announced that the factory would close and that the production would be moved to Mexico, he walked around the plant urging his fellow workers to refuse to train their Mexican replacements in a last-ditch effort to keep the factory in Indianapolis. As the shutdown at the plant continued, John preached about the need for worker solidarity. If you want it, fight for it, he told his union brothers and sisters of their doomed plant. I'll fight with you. The union reps, nearly all of whom were white, saw training their Mexican replacements as a mortal sin akin to crossing a picket line. But many black workers and women did not agree. It had not been so long ago, after all, that the white men at the plant had refused to train them. Black workers had not forgotten how the union had treated their fathers and uncles. Many considered the refusal to train the Mexicans racist. The most unapologetic trainers were black.
The foundational elements of the Unitarian Universalist denomination are found in Article 2 of the UUA Bylaws. Article 2. Every aspiring Unitarian Universalist congregation who wants to be a UU congregation must accept and honor Article 2 of the UUA Bylaws. Now, Article 2 has 4 things in it. The first, the principles and the sources. That's the first thing. The second, the purpose of the association. The purpose of the association is to serve the member congregations and implement its principles in the world at large. The third thing is the inclusion clause, meaning we will not discriminate against anyone in order to be a Unitarian Universalist. And the fourth is the freedom of belief, which means there will be no creedal test to be a UU. So those are the 4 things. Outside of the principles and the sources, which many of you are familiar, the other 3 are very short. It's only 200 words for all 3 of them combined. The UUA bylaws also state that, quote, if no study process of Article 2 has occurred for a period of 15 years, the Board of Trustees of the UUA shall appoint a commission to study Article 2 for not more than 2 years and to recommend appropriate revisions, if any, to the Board of Trustees for inclusion on the agenda at the next General Assembly. General Assembly is an annual meeting of Unitarian Universalists. It happens in June of every year. There's been some minor changes to Article 2 over the years, but really no significant change has been made since 1987. Well, in the fall of 2020, an Article 2 study commission was appointed by the UUA Board of Trustees, and they're just now completing the 2-year study portion of their work. And now they are beginning to make final recommendations that they will give to the board for voting on in General Assembly in 2023. Whatever they submit to the board, modifications and amendments to what they submit can be done at General Assembly by anyone. And to change Article 2, it needs to be passed at GA in 2023, and then again at GA 2024, because Article 2 is so foundational to us as a denomination. A portion of the UUA's board's charge to the commission reads as follows. The commission is charged with reviewing all sections of Article 2 and is free to revise, replace, or restructure them as needed. Now, they've been doing this work for the past 2 years. They have not been doing it in isolation. They've been visible at General Assembly. They've had numerous data gathering and information and feedback sessions carried out via Zoom. I was at one of them last month. And I think some other members of UUMAN were actually on that as well. But among other possible changes to Article 2, the inclusion of an 8th principle will likely be proposed. It's been in the works for years. And although the wording may change, I will read it beginning with the preamble. The preamble is for all the principles. All the principles, there's 7. There's a preamble and 7 principles. So I will read the preamble and then the principle, the proposed principle. First, the preamble. We, the member congregations of the Unitarian Universalist Association, covenant to affirm and promote, now the principle, journeying toward spiritual wholeness by working to build a diverse, multicultural, beloved community by our actions that accountably dismantle racism and other oppressions and ourselves and our institutions. Okay, I'll read it one more time. Journeying toward spiritual wholeness by working to build a diverse, multicultural, beloved community by our actions that accountably dismantle racism and other oppressions in ourselves and our institutions. Again, this is likely going to be wordsmithed before General Assembly 2023. And although even minor changes to Article 2 could result in healthy conflict, at least I hope it would be healthy, the addition of an 8th principle could potentially develop into some serious, potentially unhealthy conflict in the denomination. Some of it has already happened. Accusations of racism in the UUA have led to the unforced resignation of the UUA president in 2017. Others, seeing these accusations of racism as just the first salvo in a wider attack, have responded, accusing the accusers of trying to destroy traditional Unitarian Universalism, which has a theology based upon the 7 principles. And they further accuse the accusers of seeking to replace traditional Unitarian Universalist theology with liberation theology, postmodernism, and critical race theory. I'm not sure exactly what traditional Unitarian Universalist theology might be. I mean, our principles haven't always even been in existence. We became Unitarian Universalists in 1961 when we joined together. But from the 16th century, there have been Unitarians, Universalists, and Unitarian Universalists who've identified as Christians, humanists, pagans, agnostics, many things. And each one of those things is backed in some way by a theology or a philosophy. So just what is traditional Unitarian Universalism? How far back do we go? Where do we stop? I mean, many religious fundamentalists will say that marriage is between a man and a woman. That's traditional marriage. That's biblical marriage. Well, if you go back further, you could see that the men were married to several different people and having children with several different women. Are we suggesting that we should go back to that tradition? How far back do we go? I don't know. It seems like to me whenever anyone invokes the word traditional version of anything, they're usually advocating for the version that they're most comfortable with. To me, liberation theology is just one more tool, one more theology that we can use to make sense of the world, to uncover what it means to be alive. It's akin to Christian theology or Buddhist theology, pagan theology or philosophy, if you don't like the word theology. And in our individual philosophies and theologies that we make up ourselves, that speak to us, we don't have to believe all or any of these theologies. We are free to take parts of each that resonate with us and leave others behind. We, myself included, sometimes seem to lack the skillful means to navigate such conflicts with grace and loving kindness. How free are we as a denomination when many of my colleagues are afraid to use the word God, the G word, capital G, in a service for fear of being admonished by someone who's an agnostic who said, I don't ever want to hear that word again. I've had colleagues have that said to them. Thankfully and gratefully, I have never had that experience here at UUMAN. I am so grateful for that. I mean, how helpful is it to whitewash everyone in the room as having white privilege, as we heard about in today's reading, when many may have had family, friends, and loved ones who died in order to attain those very privileges? It's complicated. The UUA board has also encouraged the commission to review our UU sources. We have 6 sources. It says in its charge to the commission, quote, "We particularly urge the commission to review the sources. There have been energetic discussions about how other faith traditions, such as Buddhism and Islam, among others, might be included or put on footings more equal to those of Christianity and Judaism." In our sources, current sources, Christianity and Judaism are specifically mentioned, as are humanism and earth-centered traditions. Should Buddhism be included? Islam? Taoism? Confucianism? Non-earth-centered pagan traditions? And why just religious traditions? Why not secular philosophical traditions that help us navigate what it means to be alive in our search for truth and meaning? Why not existentialism, pragmatic philosophies, analytic philosophies? In the proposed 8th principle, by specifically saying racism and other oppressions, critics believe that this is evidence of elevating racism over other forms of oppression: sexism, ableism, LGBT rights. Should these forms also be added to the eighth principle so that they might be put on footings more equal, to use the words of the UUA board, put on footings more equal to that of racism? I don't know about you, but I don't want our UU principles to be reduced to a list of that feels like boxes that are being checked. Buddhism, check. Islam, check. Taoism, check. Yet, if the eighth principle remains as is, intact, with the current wording and is put to a vote in GA 2023 and 2024, I will be voting in favor of it. The wording might not be what I recommend, but we could probably all recommend something different. And I am not going to let the perfect be the enemy of the good. And it is a good. Voting in favor of it is a vote to stay in the game, in the conversation, and to have the chance to lovingly argue about it later. But I fear that if we vote it down, people will leave. People of color will give up on the denomination. And we'd be losing an opportunity to do the messy work of creating beloved community in a world badly in need of it. I could be wrong, but I believe that the spirit of the eighth principle seeks to explicitly name, give voice to the idea that Unitarian Universalism, like other North American institutions and organizations, exists within a specific cultural context. A cultural context that is what it is, at least currently, yet a context that is not always necessarily welcoming to those who aren't part of the in-group. For example, in our Wandering Time story today, it isn't really fair for the fish to simply say, just swim. To survive, I must learn the river. I have to learn that river. All the unseen things that I can't even see that are underneath the river that could dislodge my raft, deflate my raft. I can't simply swim. I must navigate the unseen culture of river. The fish is unaware, blind to the existence of a culture of river, but yet my life depends upon successful navigation of that river, of that culture. For the last 400 years, people of color have had to navigate this culture for their very survival. It could be easy for me to say, just do what I do, just swim. But there was a time when a black man coming to a house through the front door of a white man's house instead of the back door, or daring to eat dinner in a living room or in a restaurant as opposed to some back kitchen in the back, that could get him lynched. They had to navigate that for centuries. As a straight white male, I don't have to think about it. I can belong everywhere. I can just swim. Yet others who don't identify with the in-group, they must learn to navigate. I believe the eighth principle is a front and center reminder to us that many people are navigating not only North American culture, but Unitarian Universalism itself. And that much of our culture is unseen, hidden below the surface. And although many of us can just swim, many others are traversing unseen boulders, traps, rapids, waterfalls. These obstacles might mean nothing to us, yet for the others, their very survival as Unitarian Universalists depends on their successful navigation.
I'm Shelley Negrani, and I'm the chair of the Program Council. Our contributions of time, talent, and treasure are a tangible commitment to the mission and vision of UUMAN. Each time we give or volunteer, we renew this commitment. When we volunteer, we strengthen our community. As the community is strengthened, it is better able to nurture each person's spirit and support each person in the work of striving for justice. Everyone has a unique way of being a part of UUMAN, and your way may not include being a volunteer. Still, I invite you to consider the possibility that your experience here could be made better by participating in that way. Through volunteering, you may find new friends or discover unknown talents, such as the ability to sing or engage in welcoming conversations with visitors. For many of us, service on Sunday morning is our touchstone for being part of the UUMAN community. So that is where the Program Council will begin to offer opportunities for everyone to volunteer. You will see in the seatbacks blue cards with Sunday morning volunteer opportunities listed. If you are so moved, please look over the opportunities, and if any are of interest to you, please indicate it on the card and place it in the basket or hand it to me as you're leaving the sanctuary.
Each month, UUMAN chooses a different 50-50 recipient. The 50-50 recipient for this month is the UUA Disaster Relief Fund. This fund is used primarily to assist congregations facing the aftermath of disasters due to the increasing frequency of climate change. In an effort to fulfill and further the vision and mission of this congregation, we ask that our members and friends share of their time, treasure, and talents. And with this, we will now gratefully receive the offering, passing the basket, and you may also use the Givelify app. All 50-50 plate selections for this month will be split between UUMAN and the UUA Disaster Relief Fund. Please let us know that you are donating to the 50-50 plate by either writing a note on your check or make sure to select the 50-50 plate option in the Givelify app. Thank you.
Thank you, Alex. That was beautiful. We accept this sacred offering generously given by our beloved members and friends. May we and the Unitarian Universalist Association use it wisely and judiciously in service of our missions. And now please rise in body or in spirit for the singing of hymn 1064, Blue Boat Home, in the teal hymnal.
Still
Let us extinguish our chalice using the words found in your printed bulletin. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
From our hymnal. As tranquil streams meet and merge and flow as one to reach the sea, our kindred hearts and minds unite to build a church that shall be free. Prophetic church, the future awaits your liberating ministry. Go forward in the power of love and proclaim the truth that makes us free. Go in peace and enjoy your week.